many of the world's greatest thinkers admired the Vedas as great repositories of advanced knowledge and high thinking. Arthur Schopenhauer, the famed German philosopher and writer, wrote that I encounter in the Vedas deep, original, lofty thoughts, suffused with a high and holy seriousness. The well-known early American writer Ralph Waldo Emerson read the Vedas daily. Emerson wrote, I owed a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. Henry David Thoreau said, in the morning I bathe my intellect in the stupendous philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, in comparison with which our modern world and its literature seems puny and trivial. So great were Emerson and Thoreau's appreciation of Vedantic literatures that they became known as the American Transcendentalists. Their writings contain many thoughts from Vedic philosophy. Other famous personalities who spoke of the greatness of the Vedas were Alfred North Whitehead, British mathematician, logician, and philosopher, who stated that Vedanta is the most impressive metaphysics the human mind has conceived. Julius Robert Oppenheimer, the principal developer of the atomic bomb, stated that the Vedas are the greatest privilege of this century. During the explosion of the first atomic bomb, Oppenheimer quoted several Bhagavad Gita verses from the 11th chapter, such as, Death I am, cause of destruction of the worlds. When Oppenheimer was asked if this is the first nuclear explosion, he significantly replied, yes, in modern times, implying that ancient nuclear explosions may have previously occurred.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the dead silence of the morning, at 5:29:45 Mountain War Time, the Jornada del Muerto was bathed in an intense flash of a light that man had only seen from the stars.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Lin Yutang, Chinese scholar and author, wrote, India was China's teacher in trigonometry, quadratic equations, grammar, phonetics, and so forth. Francis Voltaire stated, everything has come down to us from the banks of the Ganges. From these statements we see that many renowned intellectuals believed that the origin of scientific thought was the Vedas. The Vedic literatures contain descriptions of advanced scientific techniques, sometimes even more sophisticated than those used in our modern technological world. Modern metallurgists have not been able to produce iron of comparable quality to the 22-foot-high Iron Pillar of Delhi, which is the largest hand-forged block of iron from antiquity. This pillar stands as mute testimony to the highly advanced scientific knowledge of metallurgy that was known in ancient India. Cast in approximately the 3rd century BCE, the 6.5-ton pillar over 2 millennia has resisted all rust and even a direct hit by the artillery of the invading army of Nadir Shah during his sacking of Delhi in 1737. Vedic cosmology is yet another ancient Vedic science which can be confirmed by modern scientific findings, and this is acknowledged by well-known scientists and authors such as Carl Sagan and Count Maurice Maeterlinck, who recognized that the cosmology of the Vedas closely parallels modern scientific findings. Carl Sagan stated, "Vedic cosmology is the only one in which the time scales correspond to those of modern scientific cosmology." Nobel laureate Count Maurice Maeterlinck wrote of a cosmogony which no European conception has ever surpassed. French astronomer Jean-Claude Bailly corroborated the antiquity and accuracy of the Vedic astronomical measurements as more ancient than those of the Greeks or Egyptians, and that the movements of the stars calculated 4,500 years ago does not differ by a minute from the tables of today. The 90-foot-tall astronomical instrument known as Samrat Yantra, built by the learned king Suai Jai Singh of Jaipur, measures time to within 2 seconds per day. Cosmology and other scientific accomplishments of ancient India spread to other countries along with mercantile and cultural exchanges. There are almost 100 references in the Rig Veda alone to the ocean and maritime activity. This is confirmed by Indian historian R.C. Majumdar, who stated that the people of the Indus-Saraswat civilization engaged in trade with Suma and centers of culture in Western Asia and Crete. An example of these exchanges is found in the inscriptions on the Heliodorus column, erected in 113 BCE by Heliodorus, a Greek ambassador to India and convert to Vaishnavism, as well as the 2nd century BCE coins of Agastocles, showing images of Krishna and Balaram. These artifacts stand testimony that Sanatan Dharma predates Christianity. This also confirms the link between India and other ancient civilizations such as Greece, and shows that there was a continuous exchange of culture, philosophy, and scientific knowledge between India and other countries. Indeed, the Greeks learned many wonderful things from India. Voltaire, the famous French writer and philosopher, stated, "Pythagoras went to the Ganges to learn geometry." Abraham Seidenberg, author of the authoritative History of Mathematics, credits the Sulba Sutras as inspiring all mathematics of the ancient world, from Babylonia to Egypt to Greece. As Voltaire and Seidenberg have stated, many highly significant mathematical concepts have come from the Vedic culture, such as the theorem bearing the name of the Greek mathematician Pythagoras is found in the Shatapatha Brahmana, as well as the Sulba Sutra, the Indian mathematical treatise written centuries before Pythagoras was born. The decimal system, based on powers of 10, where the remainder is carried over to the next column, first mentioned in the Taittiriya Samhita of the Black Yajurveda. The introduction of 0 as both a numerical value and a place marker. The concept of infinity. The binary number system, essential for computers, was used in Vedic verse meters. A hashing technique similar to that used by modern search algorithms.